Hello! Today I'm going to be talking about some of my favourite books. They are seriously in no particular order because I have so many favourite books I would never ever be able to pick my top one. The first one I'm going to talk about is called Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Laini Taylor. I don't even know what to say about this one. Actually, if I did have to pick a favourite book, this one would be a serious contender. It's just so different, such an original idea. It's fantasy. Read it, please read it. Like, do yourself a favour and read it. It's about a girl named Karu, and she lives in Prague, but she also has sort of a second life. Okay, that sounds really weird. So there's sort of an alternate world called Elsewhere, and she sort of lives in both Elsewhere and her normal world. So in Elsewhere, they're not really people, they're sort of different parts of animals all put together. So she works for one of the monsters called Brimstone. She goes around the world collecting teeth for him. At the beginning you don't know why he uses these teeth or what it's for. You don't really understand what's going on at first, but you think it's quite simple, and then it just like blows your mind. You get to the end and you're just like, wow. The second book I'm going to talk about is actually a very, very famous book. It's a great classic called Gone with the Wind by Margaret Mitchell. First thing that struck me about this book is how long it is. The version I have is actually 1,448 pages long, but I loved every page of it. It's set in the American Civil War. Main character, her name is Scarlett O'Hara, and she is a Southern belle, the daughter of a great cotton plantation owner, and it's all about the transition from the old Southern way of life throughout the war, and after they lost the war, the new way of life. What I loved about it is just how Margaret Mitchell can look at the same event or the same thing from lots of different points of view of different characters. So she'll be talking about it from one character's point of view, and she'll make you like, it's so convincing, like you think that's your point of view, and then she'll completely flip it around and look at it from like another point of view. I hope that made sense. Next one I'm going to talk about is called Warhorse by Michael Morpurgo. This has just been made into a very famous movie. What is amazing about this book is that it's written from the point of view of a horse. Like, enough said, right? When I picked it up and started reading it, I read the first page, and I got to the end of the first page and I was just like, what? And I reread the first page like 5 times, just thinking, how on earth is this author going to write a book from the point of view of a horse? And it worked so well. It felt convincing, it felt like it was actually a horse. So it's about this horse who's owned by this boy, and then World War I comes along, in the same way that soldiers were drafted into the army, horses were as well, because they needed them, and that happened to him, and you'll just have to read it to see if he makes it back to his owner or what happens. And I cried and I laughed, and it's just really good, and it's quite short, a quick read. Yeah, this was excellent. My fourth one is Malorie Blackman, Noughts and Crosses. It is a very famous book. The concept. Okay, I'll just read the back. Callum is a naught, a second-class citizen in a world run by the ruling crosses. Seffi is a cross, daughter of one of the most powerful men in the country. In their world, noughts and crosses simply don't mix, and as hostility turns to violence, can Callum and Seffi possibly find a way to be together? They are determined to try, and then the bomb explodes. ... Mystery. Ooh, what bomb? So basically the sort of idea of this society is it's a bit like how there was apartheid in South Africa but reversed. The Noughts are slaves, they're the ones that are, you know, put down, how do I say, and they're the white people. Callum is the son of a lady who works for Seffi's parents, and it's all about them trying to have a friendship or a relationship in this society. And it just made me think a lot. I think a book that makes you think is a good book. I loved it because it made me think. It was a compelling read, a good story, good idea, good image, like everything was good. Yeah. If you want to cry, read this book. Here I have The Da Vinci Code by Dan Brown. It is so good. It's sort of like a murder mystery. You don't know what's going on, and neither do the characters, and they're going and trying to figure it out, and you're sort of going along with them. It's been very controversial about like Catholicism. I also like this because the chapters are quite small. So it begins with a death. The man who's died has left all of these sort of signs, like messages left, and then that leads on to something else, which leads on to something else, which leads on to something else, and at the end it's just like, wow. Final book I'm going to talk about today, last but not least, is Eragon by Christopher Paolini. What is amazing about this book is that Christopher Paolini actually finished the first draft of this when he was only 15 years old. I'm 16. What have I done with my life? About a boy in an alternate world who finds the egg of a dragon and it hatches. It sends him on a great journey and he meets loads of people and there's loads of backstories, and it's just one of those books that's so great because it's complex while staying true to the main plot line and the good writing. It does leave it in a bit of a cliffhanger, but it's just really good. Really, really good. I feel like that's all I've said for all of these books. They're really good, but they are really good. This feels so weird talking to a camera.